Okay, welcome back. If you have been with me a while, then you know where we're at. We just finished lesson 5. We went over when a property doesn't appraise. So if you're following along in the section, then you know where we're at. All right, we are going to go back to lesson 6. And this is going to be specific, I think, to Maryland. So let's look at our thing. Maybe not. It might not be. All right. So these are all things that we reviewed, and this is not specific to Maryland. So if you are following along and you're like, well, I don't know, but it applies to every state in the United States. And we're getting ready to have our unit exam on the next video. And the purpose of the appraisal process, this is just going to be a review of everything. You might want to ask for this resource. You can contact me on my website and the contact page and ask me for this study sheet. And this is not in Maryland, as I was telling you. Just ignore that in Maryland. Just go validation and market analysis. This is for every state in the United States, okay? They pretty much, I have my license in Virginia too, and they do the same thing. If it's specific to Maryland, I will tell you, but this is not. You will do the appraisal process is the same in every state. You need a CMO or BOP or an informal estimate of the market value. These should never be called appraisals. Appraisals come from a certified appraiser. An appraisal is a certified opinion or estimate of the property value of a particular date. Appraisers determine the property value of worth mainly for the lenders. They can also do it for the buyers or sellers, but a CMA is usually what the buyers or sellers are going to ask for. It's going to ask for an unbiased estimate by a real estate license. You're going to be doing these in your sleep. It's usually provided to a seller because they're getting ready to put their house on the market. The BPO is an unbiased estimate of the value, and it's provided by a real estate agent. And it usually goes to a lender that's in a foreclosure or short sale situation. That's usually just a drive-by. You're not even going in the house. You're just driving by, taking some pictures for the lender. It's a great side hustle job if it is legal in your state. It's a great way to make extra money. Mortgage value, the price a lender believes a property will bring to a foreclosure sale. The market value is the fair market value price in which a buyer and seller agree to sell or buy and in a market condition. An assessed value is what the local taxing authority thinks it's worth. The insured value is the cost to replace a destroyed building. An appraisal is a very detailed estimate value performed by a state licensed or certified appraiser. It's prepared for the lender, buyer, seller, or courts. And multiple methods of validation are used, which are sales comparison and common cost approach. The price is what the seller accepts and the buyer pays. The value is what the property is worth. The cost is what it takes to recreate this property. Direct costs are labor and materials, indirect are fees and administrative. Okay, all these things are important, by the way. You know, some of these little stories that we read in the videos, these little scenarios, or, you know, you can pull some information out of them and they're valuable, but these are the things that are, you don't have to memorize these. You need to know how to apply them to situations, and that's what's going to help you remember them. And memorizing these terms are not really going to help you if you don't know how to apply them in situations. That's why we give these little scenarios in these videos that will help you remember, because just sitting here memorizing a bunch of words and stuff is not going to help you. Now, we sometimes use these little acronyms to help because this is important. So, factors, I'm losing my voice. I've been talking so much, I'm losing my voice. Factors influencing value can remember as dust. The demand influences the value, utility influences value, scarcity influences value, and transferability influences your value. Demand is how attractive and move-in ready is the property. Utility is lower demand, downward pressure on value, and vice versa. Scarcity is related to demand. Is there a lack of supply or property? How easily is this property be transferred to another? Can it be, if it can't be easily transferred, its value falls. Let's say, for instance, you got 3 people that own this property, and one of them is being difficult and doesn't want to sign over the deed to sell it. You could lose that sale. Transferability is super important. Too many people on a deed can cause some drama. You need to be upfront with this stuff, and these people that are selling already need to have all this in place. They need to have it agreed to by whoever is on the deed. So you're not holding anybody up on getting it sold. Economic principles of value. Supply and demand, substitution, contribution. These are all things that we have talked about in this unit here. Unit 5. Okay? Actually, we talked about this in a lot of units, but in the last 10 videos or so, we've talked about all this stuff. We've had videos, separate videos on all these things. So if you need to go back and review any of these, then go back and review them, because we talked more in depth about them. We give examples on how they are used, because sitting here just reading this stuff is not going to help you memorize it, or remember it, I should say. It's better to know how to use it. All right. So go back and review some of my videos, okay? If you're confused on any of this stuff. So these are some of the things on how we determine the value of a home. All right. How well it matches surrounding areas. Supply and demand, of course. Sales comparison approach used for all residential appraisals. Location, physical characteristics. You want to know the market value going on. You want to know the principles of substitution, which says the value of the property is equal to the value of an equivalent substitute property. So you're going to find properties that are equivalent to the one you're selling, and you want to identify the most to that one, okay? That's how you're going to determine your price, because that's what your buyers are willing to pay for. All right, a closer look at the cost approach, the replacement cost, to replace the cost of a building. The physical depreciation, the functional obsolescence, defects in design, does it have bad design that's not going to be valuable to somebody. This is external depreciation. And I would say that's kind of like in my neighborhood right now. We just had a murder and a fire in a house right pretty close to mine. You could see it out my back door. So this causes an undesirable influence in our neighborhood, I don't think it's going to depreciate, but it definitely is not going to go up right away until this is fixed. It's going to leave a little stigma over the neighborhood for a while. Eventually, over time, it will go away. But it's definitely a bad thing in a neighborhood when you got people committing murders, crimes, setting houses on fire. When people don't value having a home, which is part of the American dream, by the way, to own a home. So when people come in and they just start tearing up neighborhoods based upon emotions, it can really impact not only the lives that they took, murdering people, but it can impact an entire neighborhood. Anyway, I'm going to get off of my rabbit trail and get back on what we're talking about here. The income approach to appraising property. You got your GRM, GIM, and direct capitalization. We talked about all these things in previous videos, so I'm not going to go back into them over depth. If you need to review some of these videos, then you need to go back and look at some of my appraisal videos, okay? Because we go into depth on more of this and give examples. We have a little unit exam coming up, and all of these things are going to be on this exam. All right, so this is the appraisal process. And like I said, this is a pretty long resource. So if anybody needs it, this is what you're going to ask for when you contact me. You're going to ask for valuations and market analysis, study sheet. Now you can also take a screenshot of this, okay? And that way you don't even have to email me. All right, I'll go through this kind of slow, and you can take a screenshot if you want. But these are some things that you need to study. And honestly, going through the videos and seeing different examples is going to help you more than just sitting here trying to memorize these terms, okay? Because it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to relate it to anything just sitting here trying to memorize these terms. If you can relate it to something or an example, it will help you more. So I'm going to leave this up so in case you want to take a screenshot, and you can download it, save it, and print it out at home. But these are all the things that we went through in like the last 10 videos, okay? We broke all of these things down and went through some examples. Okay. Some of these are pretty difficult. Appraisals could be kind of difficult. This GRM, this GIM, all those things were a lot of math. If you like math, then that might be your thing. Actually, becoming an certified appraisal, might be more of your career path if you like a lot of math, because that was a lot of math. Now, if you like helping people find the right home that fits their personality and their lifestyle, then being a real estate agent might be your thing. So it depends, it might be a whole different thing. That's what I prefer doing. I like getting to know my people and getting them to understand what they value and what they appreciate in life, and hooking them up in the right home that they fall in love with. It's a pretty cool experience. Especially if they're a first-time home buyer and they've never had a home. They're super excited and they are super grateful, and they love it, and they're super, it's so exciting to see somebody get in the right house that they love and all of that. So this is what I was talking about all the math. This is pretty intense, and you have a lot of math equations that you need to remember. And I can't remember how much or if any of these equations was on the test, because it's been a while since I've taken this test. But we're not going for an appraisal certification unless you were, but then you need to be taking another test. But as a real estate agent, I'm not really sure why we need to memorize all of these things or even kind of know them. You kind of need to know them, but as far as doing math problems with this, I don't know why we would need to do that, because we're not going to be doing that as a realtor. You're not going to be going through an appraisal process and sitting here doing math problems like an appraisal. You're not going to be doing that. All right, so you just kind of need to know about the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. You need to know exactly what they're doing, what they do, have an idea of what they're doing, okay, and why they're doing it. As far as memorizing quotients, equations, and all that, I just don't think that you need to do that. Now, for this little thing here that we're doing right here, this little study guide, we might have to do that. When you're taking your class, which is going to be similar to a lot of the things we're talking about right here, you might need to, they might ask you to do a couple problems. Okay, the FIRREA. Do we remember what that is? It is the Financial Institutes Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act. It requires that federally related appraisals must be conducted by an appraiser who is licensed or certified in their state. And we went over all of this in detail in one of my other videos, so I'm not going to do it again. We're just going to leave it up here and review it for a second. I'm not going to read all this over again because we've already done it. I'm only leaving this up here in case you want to take a screenshot and go back and look at it and review it again. I am getting ready to end the video here soon, so you need to get this in, and if you don't get it this time, you go back and watch this again. Okay, go back and watch the video again and get your screenshots. All right, we talked about CMAs quite a bit and the listing presentations. What you need to do in your listing presentation, how you do a CMA, what you don't do on a listing presentation, what kind of questions you ask. All right, how market conditions impact our sellers and sellers' motivation. Okay, we just had, I think that video was 1 or 2 ago. We just did that. Okay, pricing point is important. When a property doesn't appraise, what do you do? And I think this was the last video we just did, right before this one. Okay, we have like a 6 question unit test coming up on this next video. Okay, a unit exam is going to be 6 questions, and it's going to be all of these things right here, mainly on the listing presentation. Okay, I will see everybody on the next video.